Welcome everybody to CALLOUS Invitational 3, Round 3 Lowers Bracket Action. This is live narrated. I know it doesn't look like the way that I usually live narrate. I'm deciding to do it a little bit different. Just going to let these guys know that they can go ahead and play. But yeah, I am in. I guess I can't. It's set to mod chat, so I'll tell them in here. Alright, get that going. Alright, so Dekzeh's on the bottom of Zapdos, Fear's on the top of Tutar. The reason that I'm setting it up like this, not only because when you can only see part of the chat, it's always behind where the actual game is, and I've had some complaints that that's confusing, but also for my own convenience. For whatever reason, I'm not a very technical guy, but for whatever reason, when the video is very wide, so when I go off to the right of where it is now to include the chat, but I keep the height the same up and down, it just takes forever to upload to YouTube for whatever reason, whereas a video like this, for whatever reason, just takes way less time. So that's why I'm doing this, but let's not get too far behind. There's been a lot in this game already. There's been a double trap, so a mag gets a Scarm, and then a Doug gets a mag, and we now have a triple trap, where a Porygon 2 gets a Dugtrio. So we've had 3 trappers already, and therefore 3 knockouts by turn 6. And wow, this game is blistering. Going to be more time me talking than it's going to be these guys actually playing, it seems. We've got ourselves a 4-4 situation by turn 7. That is a lot of knockouts for ADV, which is not a slow gen, but it's not normally that fast. So let's catch our breath here and catch up. So it looks like a standard TSS for Fear. The last poke on this squad is probably just Gengar, but it could be a Metagross. Let's see. Metagross Gengar, I guess in theory it could be a second water like a Coon. It's probably just Gengar. And then Dekzeh, on the other hand, I'm not entirely sure what it is that he's running here. This could just be some weird variant of the triple electric team with a Jolteon in the back that Undisputed made originally. There's got to be at least one more thing that's vulnerable to Dugtrio, I would think, for Dekzeh in order to, there we go, in order to make the Porygon 2 worthwhile. I don't think you include Porygon 2 just to compensate for 2 Dougie weaknesses. That just doesn't seem good enough, but Heracross makes a lot of sense. And then I can see, like, last poke, I mean, probably just a bulky water, but if it isn't a water, it could be like a DD-Tar or just a threatening Pokemon that, again, really doesn't like Dugtrio. So Hera came in on a Protect turn via Baton Pass. That's probably ideal, and this is really dangerous, too. Swords Dance, he takes a Surf. He may or may not live another. A better roll plus the Sand could get him, but he also has a pretty good chance to barely live through those things. I don't think +2 Mega Horn kills, so Swampert should live too. He's going to go for a flinch, and he gets it. That also might have been thinking that a Gengar was going to come in, which would have 4x resisted Mega Horn, but either way, the flinch is cool. Now I don't know if +2 Mega Horn kills. It would hurt a lot, and Fear is probably calcing that right now if he hadn't already calced it on the turn prior to know exactly what the damage range is here. And of course, Fear does have Protect that we've already seen, but how much of a nightmare is it if he were to go Protect and then Heracross were to go for another Swords Dance or a Substitute or something like that? The Heracross might just sweep him at that point. So, I mean, I really... Fear is going to be very cautious about thinking about Protect here. Unsurprisingly, it's Fear who's taking the time here. Dekzeh's doing the proactive thing, and Fear's the one who kind of has to figure out what to do. He does go for Protect, and Dekzeh does not punish that, so Fear takes a risk, and it goes his way. So he gains lefties from doing that. He gets a very important Mega Horn miss and a cooperative Surf roll. That was a nightmare turn for Dekzeh. That was absolute worst case scenario if either of those things doesn't happen. Either he simply hits the Mega Horn, or, okay, fine, I missed, but the Surf does roughly what it did last time, therefore I live. Dekzeh is still fine, but he gets very unlucky with both the Mega Horn miss, which is 85-15, so overwhelmingly in his favor to hit, and then a better Surf roll. So really crappy turn for Dekzeh, and I can't say that it didn't matter. It definitely did, and it looks like it's going to snowball into a Game 1 victory for Fear. Then again, Dekzeh has been reluctant to show that last poke. There is the possibility of something like a last poke Kuhn or a last poke Gyra that could come in here and sweep the team. I can also see last poke Lax, so there are things here that could be the last poke for Dekzeh. We're about to find out that could sweep. Maybe on Mence. We don't know if the Pert has Ice Beam or not. Oh, this is hard. You might just have to Dragon Dance. Yeah, I think you do, because I don't think Dekzeh can win if he doesn't get the DD off. It's one of those things with the Ice Beam. If he has it, he has it. And that's exactly what he needed to happen. Dekzeh needed that Toxic miss. So it now becomes a prediction game. Do you play around Protect or do you straight attack? I agree with attacking there, because you're begging to give him another shot at Toxic if you don't. So I agree with that play. Blissey here is going to have Ice Beam too, so Dekzeh needs a crit or a flinch. Does not get it, and as such, Fear is going to take down Game 1. But Dekzeh definitely, even after the BS with the Megahorn and the Surf, even then, Dekzeh could have won this game. It's hard to really know without knowing what the last poke was. If it was a last poke Bulky Gar, which is standard on this kind of team, then Dekzeh would have needed an additional crit or flinch because that Bulky Gar is EV'd to always live plus 1 HP flying from Salamence, so it would have lived and retaliated with Ice Punch for the knockout. So Dekzeh would have needed to catch some breaks there, whether it had been crits or flinches. But it doesn't go his way, and they're already starting Game 2, not wasting time. Let's not miss that. So Dekzeh is again on the bottom. Fear is on the top. Fear, of course, you just saw, won Game 1, and now Dekzeh with his back against the wall needs to win this game and a potential third game, or Dekzeh will be eliminated 1-2 from the tournament, along with just a plethora of powerful players. I cannot believe the amount of elite players who are out of this tour already by the third round. Dekzeh looking to not join that list. He does get a layer of spikes down. He did come in on a crit, unluckily. 47% from Earthquake. The subsequent non-crit doing 26%. Lax has to be careful about getting blown up on here. He just goes Earthquake again. Based on the previous damage rolls, Fortress is not poised to live another one. He's going to switch. And Shadow Ball with a crit there. I think that was probably anticipating Gengar coming in as an Earthquake immunity, but Celebi works as well, especially when you land a critical hit. Body Slam there, 32%, does not find the power that he's looking for. It's another obvious recover turn. See if Fear booms. Almost always when you lead with Lax, it's a utility Lax. You've got to have the threat of self-destruct in your mind here. But Fear is being very patient with it, and I don't blame him. I mean, why boom when you're at 100%? This Lax still has a lot of value to be gained without resorting to blowing up this early. And he switches it up at this point to Shadow Ball. Gets a Specs drop that probably doesn't matter. It certainly doesn't matter in this matchup, but it could matter if Fear switches to a special attacker. And that Earthquake does a ton. 51%? That has got to be a very offense-minded Lax. And wow, the Earthquake just kills there. I'm surprised Fear allowed that to happen. I can't believe the Earthquake was doing that much. That's either a really offensive Pert, a really offensive Lax, or both. I think both, because Surf there also should not do 44% to Swampert. So some interesting EVs there from both parties, but the result is simply a 5-5. Information advantage overwhelmingly favoring Fear with 4 unrevealeds here. However, Dekzeh with a trick up his sleeve. Starmie not usually found alongside Fortress. That would make you think that maybe one of them does not have Rapid Spin. It could be an offensive star. If it were an offensive star, I feel like that maybe would have or should have done more, so maybe it's not an offensive star. Then again, now it shows Hydro Pump, so maybe it is an offensive star, because defensive ones usually use Surf. So yeah, my running theory right now is going to be offensive star. Dekzeh missing Hydro Pump here, takes a big Earthquake for missing. He can kill here, or he cannot kill with a Hydro Pump, but he would be killed by an Earthquake. Earthquake going to land on Celebi here, who's not actually shown an attack yet. Very well could have a grass attack, but hasn't shown that. Could go just recover here as the generic safe thing to do. But no, he goes straight for Hidden Power, and that's going to knock out Swampert. Dekzeh takes the lead. That'll put him in a 5-4 advantageous position. And Fear is going to go to Salamence here, which is gaining leftovers, we see, and it's faster than the Celebi, so Celebi has to be very careful of the obvious HP flying here, or a Fire Blast from a Mixed Mence. Either one, very much a threat to Celebi, but it's at this HP. I don't know what his switch is, though. Dekzeh lost his Swampert. Does he have some other answer to a physical Pokemon like this? It was an offensive pert, so I mean, it's not designed to take hits all day. You would think he's got some kind of backup plan. We also don't know if it is a physical poke. I mean, based on what he's shown so far, it's just not telling enough. I mean, he's got Starmie and he hasn't shown Mag, and those two can be together, but they're usually not. So if we're assuming that he doesn't have Magneton, it actually could be a Mixed Mence, but scratch that, he goes DD here. This is the exact scenario I talked about before, where if it's a bulky Gar, it's actually EV to 100% live that hidden power. There was no chance that was ever killing with any damage roll, and then retaliate with the Ice Punch one-hit KO, which is exactly what we see here. The bulky Gengar is EV'd for exactly that scenario that we just witnessed. And on this team, it kind of has to be, right? Because Dekzeh's got that offensive pert that is not designed to take a million hits. So it kind of has to be something that is going to be able to give him a backup plan against the DD Mence that his team would otherwise be very weak to. So Dekzeh fodders off Fortress. There will be no spikes this game. I'd be shocked if Fear had a spiker in the back. That just doesn't fit the team at all. He might have a Mag in the back, after all, since it is a DD Mence. But I'd be really shocked if Fear had a spiker. So safe bet there will be no spikes this game. Starmie very low for Fear, but it's also very fast and very threatening. Gengar at 9% not going to take a hit. Starmie at 42 would not live a Thunderbolt that we already know this thing has. So Celebi is going to be his bet. Hoping the last move is not Ice Beam. It shouldn't be. It should just be Recover. So I think this is a safe switch. Surf, Rapid Spin, T-Bolt have all been shown. It should be last move Recover. So Celebi should be fine. It is a Magneton in the back, which makes perfect sense now that we've seen that the Mence is, in fact, DD. And a Leech Seed will land on the way in. So you've got to think it's last poke, something physical. I guess it could be last poke Coon, which really appreciates Skarmory not being there. So it's going to be either last poke Coon or just last poke Tara, I would think. It could be a Gyro, one of those three. Ha! See, guys, Metagross, just like I told you it would be. I'm not sure what kind of Metagross fits here. I mean, Metagross just kind of fits on any team because it's just so good, but... Oh, Will-O-Wisp missed for Dekzeh is unlucky. That's Hidden Power Grass, it looks like. I guess thinking Starmie or T-Tower might come in. Just kind of a middle ground auction there. So we've got ourselves a 3-3. How does Dekzeh want to follow up here? It's a mixed meta. Agility would have made sense in my mind with the Mag, but it is not Agiligros. It is mixed meta. Celebi is coming in here probably just to Leech Seed, but he's got to be careful about getting blown up on here. But at the same time, if he does blow up and Celebi switches out of said boom, then all of a sudden I think Fear loses to the Celebi. So he has to be very careful about his boom timing. He goes Magneton here. That comes in on HP Grass. Will resist it. Magneton does have lefties, which makes sense that it's a lefty set and not a magnet set on a team that does have a spinner in the back. So it's not as urgent that he kills the Skarm immediately. It's okay if Skarm maybe gets an extra layer down because you can remove said layer after the fact. Starmie on meta now. Starmie has shown Thunderbolt Hydro Pump. Celebi again coming in here. Got to be very careful about getting it blown up on. So far, Dekzeh has not played around that, nor has Fear pulled the trigger. But it's very much a possibility, and he's going to be really nervous about that. I think if he loses the Celebi, he's in some trouble. This Metagross is starting to accrue some damage. He's down to 49%. Dekzeh has got to be sniffing that potential boom, and he does BP out. He discovers that he's going to be against Magneton, so he has to figure out what he wants to do. I assume that's just Starmie here, unless he wants T-Tower to get lefties. But it is Starmie, and this is going to be a free attack here. It's a free Hydro Pump possibility. Nothing that can go wrong here other than a miss. And indeed, it does not miss this time. And Dekzeh regains his lead, 3-2. I think you just Hydro Pump again. No, he sees it differently. He goes to Celebi. I think Hydro Pump kills there from 49%. I'm surprised he didn't go for that. but he does go to Celebi here. Meteor Mash, 36%. Again, he's not playing around the boom. I guess he's really not worried about Fear's Starmie sweeping him, which it feels like it could should he lose the Celebi. Yeah, if he were to win the speed tie, he Thunderbolts and he kills this Starmie, and then Hydro Pump, either with a crit or with the right EVs, would just kill the Tyranitar as well. So I'm surprised that Fear has not tried to blow up on the Celebi, but at this point, he really doesn't have that many choices. I mean, Boom is so obvious now if he has it. I mean, almost every meta has Boom, but this is the turn to do it. I'd be shocked if he did anything other than Boom here, but then again, maybe because it's so obvious, he changes it up and tries to get back in this. But this feels like the pretty clear Boom turn, if there ever was one. See how Dekzeh wants to respond to that. Maybe at this point you do just let Celebi go, or maybe you let your own Starmie go. Yeah, I mean, I could see going to Starmie, letting that die, and then switching T-Tar. That would live a Meteor Mash, and then that would kill the meta, and then that would leave us with a matchup of Celebi against the Fear Starmie, which I think is good. Dekzeh sees a different route, and there is the Boom finally trading with the Celebi. So Dekzeh's played this as if his T-Tar is EV to always live the non-crit Hydro Pump here. There's no way he would have made this sequence if it weren't EV to always live here. It's Surf, not Hydro Pump, but a crit would have been needed there. It doesn't come, and Dekzeh gets the knockout, and that is going to send us to a third game. The loser is going to be eliminated from this tour. So as we've had several of in this particular round, which is really cool, I'm really appreciative of this, we are, in fact, going to a Game 3. I felt like in Round 1, maybe even in Round 2 as well, it's kind of all blurring together to be fully honest, but I feel like in one of the early rounds, I think it was Round 1, there were just a fuck ton of 2-0s, and we were not seeing a lot of Game 3s. So it's very cool that we're getting into a groove and seeing Game 3s, especially when people are fighting for their tournament life. Like I said, the loser will be out of this tour with a 1-2 record, which, I mean, it's not 0-2, but I don't think any player comes into this tour wanting to go 1-2. I think that they both want to do a little better, and we're just waiting on Game 3. And remember, you can win the entire tournament from the lower bracket, even if you hypothetically were to have lost in Round 1, which actually I think both of these players did. You can still win the entire tournament. It's not that you're locked into, you know, the booby prize or the consolation prize, or, oh, you could still win the loser's bracket. No, no, no. You can actually win the entire tournament after losing in Round 1. One of these guys can still come in first place overall. So there's a lot to play for here. It's just a matter of how far can they go after this match. For one of them, the tournament is going to end here, and I'm just waiting on them to start that game. I could just check in our chat real quick. All sorts of stuff going on. Oh, no! Fuck! My little cup in POCL is playing right now. Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh, man, that's going to happen at the same time. That's so bad. Let me check on this game. You guys are going to get an authentic reaction. Hey, Jimmy Turtwig, fuck you. Alright. Looks good, I think. We're ahead in this game. I'm not going to try to narrate this, guys. Don't expect anything. I don't have a clue what's going on here. I just know that we have 5 Pokemon and he has 4, but I haven't looked at the health of anything. Oh, it looks like our shit's pretty healthy other than this mushroom thing. Granted, Jimmy's stuff is relatively healthy too, but this doesn't look too bad from what I can tell. Alright, I like it. Fucking get him, fatty. We're 4-1 in matches in POCL, 4-1 in weeks, and then we are down 4-5 this week. So if we win this game, we would be 5-5 and get the draw, and that draw would actually mathematically secure us guaranteed playoffs. So as much as you guys do not really care about Little Cup, and honestly, I don't really either. That match is actually important. However, the more important match, there we go. Here's Game 3. So, Swampert lead for Dekzeh on the bottom, Skarm lead for Fear on the top. We saw Spikes and Focus Punch respectively, and then a Drill Peck broke up a second Focus Punch, and here we are. So, what I wanted to say was, when Skarm leads, one of the things that I always say by default is that there's probably a Dugtrio in the back. And the reason that I say that is because a Skarm lead is absolutely begging for an immediate Magneton switch. I mean, some players would have discipline to not do it just in case it's a trap, it's an HP ground Skarm, or it's going to be a Dugtrio switching into trap the mag, or something gimmicky like that. But almost certainly, with a Skarm lead, there's a Magneton in the back. And Dekzeh obviously knows this. So if I am Dekzeh here, I'd be playing my entire game. Now, granted, I don't know anything about his team or how much his team cares about a Dugtrio, but I'd be playing my entire game from here on out, assuming that there is a Dugtrio in the back. I would make my plays accordingly. We'll see if that does, in fact, turn out to be the case. Fear did establish 2 layers of spikes, which is great. All right, no more mystery. There's the Dugtrio. I'm surprised it comes in a Swampert. He gets a crit that definitely could have mattered there. I think the logic was because it's packing Focus Punch, and also based on the damage like the Drill Peck did, for example, I think Fear determined definitively, because he can calc all this as he goes, that it was an offensive pert, and therefore the Dugtrio, I don't know if it's Jolly or Adamant, but he calculated that he should be able to kill it and that it wouldn't have Protect. So I think that actually was the right play from Fear, even if it might have seemed a little weird on paper. So Claydol got a light screen off here. You don't see that every day. We'll see if that ends up benefiting the team. Typically when you're setting up screens, which are very uncommon in ADV, you are trying to support some kind of setup sweeper. A Jirachi, a Salamence, whatever it is. Probably not, I mean, it could be a Salamence, could be a Magdoll team for Dekzeh, but okay, Jirachi makes more sense to me, and the Ice Beam does laughable damage here. It doesn't even negate lefties when combined with the light screen. Now, certainly, an Earthquake could still happen here, and there's also a Dugtrio follow-up, even if Jirachi were to win this 1v1, so it's a little bit, I mean, it's almost as if Dekzeh wanted to get the Jirachi killed there, or at least he wanted to trade with Swampert, because in making that play, he was 100% willing to simply get Dugtrio revenge killed there. So we end up with Bliss on Bliss. Sing comes down, 55% accuracy, basically a coin flip, not too much better than a coin flip. Doesn't go his way, not that Sing against the opposing Bliss would have been a huge deal. So let's see, we've seen Ice Beam only, and we've seen Sing soft-boiled S-Toss on the bottom end. And it is just repeated Ice Beams over and over and over. I don't know if he's fishing for a freeze, or if he wants to not let something specific that he thinks is in the back come in. But Sing does eventually connect, and double normal for Dekzeh. He's got both Blissey and Snorlax, which it's got to be, yeah, it's got to be last poke mag for Dekzeh. I think, I mean, maybe not. I mean, it might not be. It could be a Boomlax here. If it is a Restlax, okay, it shows Hidden Power, which I think is HP Bug. I'm confused about Dekzeh's team. Mag in the back makes sense as like a weird Magdoll kind of team, but it's just really strange to me that he would not have gone for the mag at any point into the Skarmory. But his team seems to not like Skarm too much at all if he doesn't have a mag. But I mean, at the same time, maybe it is just a Boomlax. Maybe it's last poke boom and last move boom, and maybe this team actually does have ways other than Magneton to remove a Skarmory. But there's definitely some surprise value for Dekzeh's team here. And I'm not sure who's winning this game. I think Dekzeh's a little bit ahead. That Dugtrio definitely seems obnoxious. The Blissey hates it. The Rachi hates it. There's no spikes down, so Dugtrio does not get punished when it comes in, especially if it's Adamant. It's a real threat because Dekzeh's team is all slow as fuck, so the Jolly versus Adamant really doesn't matter. Adamant would be better here for the sake of hitting harder. Yeah, I mean, Fear just has a team very similar to his Game 1 team. It looks like just generic TSS. Again, I would assume the last Pokemon is Gengar, but I was wrong the first time, or was I right the first time? I don't know. The games are blurring together for me. I think it's a Gengar. And then, yeah, and then Blissey is chilling here. She's only shown Ice Beam. It could be a Calm Bliss. I doubt it. It doesn't make a lot of sense. That's such an old set, but it is possible that it's a CM Bliss. That is really not a thing these days. That set has fallen off the face of the earth. And it would not be the set that you want to have here. CM Bliss does not beat Lax. It can beat some opposing Bliss. This particular one from Dekzeh does not have Toxic, but Toxic Bliss beats CM Bliss. And then Doll could maybe blow up on it. I have no idea what would be on a light screen set. Rapid Spin Light Screen, Psychic Earthquake, or Earthquake Boom, rather, but then you can't touch Gengar. I'm not sure. I'm super curious what the last poke is for Dekzeh. I really am. Like I said, Magneton came to my mind, and this is just some kind of like weird Magdoll. But I could see it being other things. I could see it being a Dugtrio. I could see it being... Maybe it's not Dugtrio. It's got to be something that doesn't get completely donked by Skarm is the thing. So I guess that does kind of limit your options. Here comes Jirachi, and it is a Protect from Fear. Jirachi has shown nothing so far. Just checking the moves for everybody. Lax has shown Curse, Hidden Power, Bug. I mean, it could be Steel, but let's get real here. It's HP Bug. Return, I guess it could be Steel if he's really worried about Gengar. It's Steel or Bug. Bug came to my mind immediately because the team just seems really sketchy against Celebi, and it's a great bait to go Curse, and then Celebi comes in thinking it's going to Leech Seed you, and then you nail it with HP Bug, so it just makes a lot of sense to me. But it could theoretically be HP Steel. It is actually Calm Mind Blissey. Wow, I don't hate that Pokemon. I think it's better than its current place in the meta, which is basically not at all. I don't think it should have fallen completely into obscurity the way that it has. I think just regular Blissey is just so good and so efficient, and that's actually honestly the biggest reason. As opposed to Calm Mind Bliss being bad, it is more that regular Bliss is just insane. But this is really not the matchup to have the Calm Mind Bliss in. It's going to struggle against a Lax and a Bliss. Then again, it is non-toxic Bliss for Dekzeh, so maybe it is just the Lax has to deal with it. And the Rachi could beat it one-on-one as well, but it needs to kind of start boosting at the same time. Jirachi can catch up a little bit, but at this point... Oh, wow, he's going to actually switch out. He's going to get Dougie in on a soft-boiled here. If it is Adamant, this is going to go... Yeah, that's got to be Adamant. 58%. Fire Blast there would have needed a crit, which in this case would not have killed, or a burn, which did not come. And the Dugtrio is going to be good enough. Blissey is going to go down for Dekzeh, so he's going to have the Lax, the Rachi, and maybe the last poke to try to deal with the Calm Mind Bliss on the other side. Claydol is weak and frozen. He got unluckily nailed by the Ice Beam there. See what happens, but Fierce seems to be ahead here. He's up not only a Pokemon, but he also managed to get that lucky freeze. Oh, I gotta be honest with you guys. I want to check on the Fatty Jimmy game so bad. I'm just gonna do it real quick. Yeah! We won and we made playoffs. That's fucking awesome. Back to this. I'm glad I checked on that real quick. I would not have been as glad if it's like a tense one-on-one situation. And I've got to dip into that, and oh fuck, now I don't know which one to watch, what's going to happen, but yeah, alright, that game's already over, so that is good. I'm glad Fatty got that win, and that means that we are officially into those playoffs, and that is cool shit. In the meantime, back to this, it is Dekzeh who's taking the time right now. Dugtrio's locked on Earthquake, so he's certainly not going to switch in the weakened Lax or the Jirachi here. So his only options are the Claydol or the unrevealed last poke, which, yeah, I mean, that it's hard to know. I mean, if it's something that's weak to Dugtrio, that's obviously not really an option either. But then he wouldn't be thinking about it, right? Then it would just be an obvious Claydol. Unless Dex is just absolutely next level here, and he's intentionally taking the time to make it look like his last Pokemon isn't something that's weak to Dugtrio. And in fact, yeah, see, it's T-Tar here. It is something Dugtrio weak. And he's going to barely live that huge Earthquake. And he'll crunch the Dugtrio down. I don't know, man. I mean, Dekzeh, I think, now is all in on Rachi to win. The T-Tar is super low. The Claydol's low, not a sweeper anyway, and frozen. The Lax is back to full health. I thought it was weaker than it is. I'm wrong about that. He did... All right, I forgot that he received a wish. So Lax is back up to 99%. We don't know the last move. It could be Rest, so it's going to be either Rachi or or lax trying to win the game here for Dekzeh. And we still don't know the last poke for Fear. T-Tar on T-Tar action here. Rock Slide has been shown from Fear, and it is a special or mixed Tar from Dekzeh. The speed advantage belongs to Fear. That's going to leave Dekzeh with only 3 Pokemon. The Claydol is close to useless here, so he more or less has 2 Pokemon here, and he decides the one that he wants to go with in this situation is Lax, which has a hidden power, whether it is Bug or whether it is Steel, that hits the T-Tar super effectively, but it does not happen here because he is going to flinch on a Rock Slide. Also keeping in mind, like I said, that Fear has not even shown his last poke. There's a crit, and there's a curse. Man, Dekzeh has some bad luck this series. I go back to the first game where he missed the Mega Horn. He's saying GG. Is Dekzeh dead? Ooh. He might be. Man, that might be real bad. He's going to rely on a burn here. And he doesn't get it, and I think Dekzeh's out. He has caught some rough breaks in this particular series for sure. He's asking Fear now what the last Pokemon is, just for our own knowledge. He is, in fact, 100% dead here. Fear is going to win. Just a matter of does Fear tell us or not. And sticking around. He doesn't seem to be answering, but I will let you guys know in the next couple of moments if he does. But the end result here is Fear wins the set 2-1. He will continue on in the lower bracket in this tour, and Dekzeh, who had a really hard road. Dekzeh had tough opponents in this. Dekzeh is going to be knocked out 1-2, but it's a victory in and of itself that Dekzeh actually played all his matches without disappearing, so A for effort. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Even a little sprinkle, a little cup on top. That's pretty cool. Not that I'm going to plan on doing that regularly, but hey, a little cup action. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Fear's alive, Dekzeh's dead, and there's going to be more CALLOUS Invitational 3 content on the way. Thumbs up if you enjoyed.